welcome to my wonderful co-host, Rob. How are you, bud?
Good, mate. How's things with you, mate?
Yeah, good, mate. Good. How's your week been?
Week's been pretty good so far. Just really excited about tonight and the chat that we're going to have very soon. How about you, mate? What have you been up to?
Oh, mate, I just been working. You know, usual. It's been shit weather down here in Sydney, so the job sites have been a bit wet. But last weekend we had the NRL Grand Final. Congratulations to the Brisbane Broncos for their three-peat in the NRLW over the Roosters.
Yeah, massive effort, yeah.
Yeah, and then the Melbourne Storm, who held off a fast-finishing Penrith Panthers in the NRL Grand Final. Kia ora, TK. How are you, brother?
Hey, TK.
From work tonight. That's the way, bro.
Awesome, mate.
I spent Grand Final day watching replay of the Warriors women's last round win over the Dragons, and then I ran that into the Warriors men's last round win over Manly. So two games I was fortunate to attend, and that was my 2020 Grand Final this year. The Warriors won.
That was the game. That was our final game. So Grand Final it is.
Yeah, but we will discuss the Grand Finals a little bit later on. Tonight we've got we're very lucky to have a New Zealand Warriors cult hero join us live for the chat. This man played 67 games for our Warriors in one of our most successful periods for the club, and I'm very excited to welcome Warrior number 76, Big Tooks, Mark Tookey. Welcome, mate.
How you going, boys?
How are you, bud?
Really good, thanks, mate.
We've been looking forward to having this chat with you, mate. It's I've been kind of excited all week. It's
yeah, same here.
It's not often you get to chat to someone that you watched in a Warriors jersey, and mate, those calls of Tookey every time you took the field and ran the ball up. It was one of the most successful periods of the Warriors too when you played.
Yeah, it was good.
We'll start off. We'll go back, mate. You began your career as a Logan's brother junior, which was the junior club of a lot of NRL stars, and then you were signed by the South Queensland Crushers and made your debut at the Crushers in '96 in a rare win against the Western Suburbs Magpies. What was it like? Tell us what it was like to make your first grade debut.
Yeah, it was actually an interesting day. Back in those days, we only had 2 fresh reserves per grade, and then they'd bring up 6 or 8 players from the game before to sit, and they could only use 2 of them. So on that day, I actually debuted for reserve grade the same day. So
okay.
I played in the under-21s, and then I got taken up in that group of 6 for reserve grade, and I'd done that for a few weeks, and then on the day I debuted for the NRL, I didn't play in the under-21s. I sat as one of the 2 fresh reserves for reserve grade. And so that was fine. I played 30 minutes. That was the days with unlimited interchange. So I just came on, created some carnage and got off again. And then after the game, Bobby Linder had picked 6 of those reserve grade players to sit on the bench for the NRL. And this was my first time that I'd sat in that group. So I'm like, well, this is interesting, and thought I had nothing of it. I'll just sit there for the experience and away I go. So at half time, Bobby Linder taps me on the shoulder and says, mate, you're going to get a run in the second half here. And I nearly wet my pants, and I remember holding back tears. And I've walked out the tunnel after half time, and I've looked into the crowd to my mum, and she's just looking at me like, what's going on? And I just was looking at it, thinking, oh my God, here we go. And I got the last 20 minutes of the game against West. I remember going on after we'd scored a try, and they kicked the ball off straight to me from that. So I went on the field back to receive a kickoff, and they've hit it, and they've kicked it straight down to me. And I remember catching the ball and obviously just ploughing into the defensive line. But Steve Georgalis at the time, he was like one of the guru players. I ran straight over the top of him my first carry of the game, and then the rest is from there. It was all good. But we ended up having a really good win that day as well. But it was my actual debut for reserve grade and first grade in the same day.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
That's not weird. Was that Andrew Leeds missed the conversion right on full time?
To tie the game. Yeah, that's right. And actually, now that you brought it up, bloody Roo, I was actually they beat me on the outside to score the try in the corner. After 20 minutes, I was.
You're just like.
Yeah, I was stuffed, and I played 20 straight too. It was such a fast game, and I wasn't fit enough to go 20, but just adrenaline kind of got me there. And they scored right in the corner, like you said, and they had to kick the goal to draw. And back then it was just a draw, there's no extra draw. Yeah. But he missed it, so yeah, we had a rare win.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in 1996, you end up playing 3 games off the bench, but it was probably the following season, in the ARL season, 1997, that you kind of cemented a first grade position. And you played 15 games that year. Speaking of Western Suburbs Magpies, I've got to bring up a game that was very special to me as well, and it was the final round game of 1997. Obviously, the Crushers were going on having financial troubles, and they let everyone in for free for the last few home games. So me and my dad went up for the final game, and you guys were playing Western Suburbs. And I was actually a bit of a Crushers tragic back in the day, being from Brisbane. So I ended up going to quite a few games. And this game in particular, we went because they were letting everyone for free. And I think Western Suburbs were on the verge of making the 8, and all they had to do was beat you guys to get into the top 8.
Who were running up.
Yeah, and I'll never forget, because you guys broke almost every single club record in that game, which turned out to be the Crushers' last ever game.
Yeah.
And a side note to that is that it was also the day that Princess Diana died.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, that was. When everyone has ever asked that question, yeah, I remember where I was when Di died. We were actually on the field at the time. Yeah.
But that was an unbelievable game. I mean, you guys, like Clinton Shipovsky scored a club record haul. You guys had the biggest ever win in the club's history. And it's amazing to think that West just needed to beat you guys to get the finals, but instead the Gold Coast Chargers went through that year, which was
that's right. Yeah, mate. If the Crushers were still around, I think I'd still be there. I would have still been there till the end. I was a pretty loyal type of player, so I wanted to be at the Crushers until the end. They folded, and then had to move on. But the reason we went from there to Parramatta actually was me, Clinton Tchaikovsky, and Troy Pezzett. We all signed with Para when the Crushers folded, and because whenever we played the Parramatta Eels, Crushers went really well, and I always played well against them, and so did Pezzy and Chock. So it was real weird that they went, right, we'll just go sign those 3. So that's how I ended up down at Para.
Yeah. Well, that was going to be my next question. Yeah, it was interesting. Yeah. I remember you guys having some famous wins over Parramatta as well. I didn't get too many wins in the club's history, unfortunately, but about 3 or 4 of them were over Para. So yeah.
in that 98, I was going to say, in that 98 season, you played in a really good Parramatta pack with guys like Dean Payne, Nathan Hindmarsh, Jared McCracken, Jimmy Dimmick, Nathan Kalis. What was it like playing in such a dominant forward pack?
Well, as I said, I got my start down at the Crushers, but to go down to Parramatta, like you said, there was Jim Dimmick, Dean Pay, Jason Smith, Jared McCracken. They were a pack with Aaron Raper as a hooker. And then there was these other guys you might have heard of: Nathan Hindmarsh, Mick Vella, Nathan Kalis, myself, Jason Kalis. So there was all they all turned out to be bloody Origin and New Zealand Kiwi legends. So it was really rewarding to go from a struggling team to a team. We made it to the prelim final every both years I was at Para. We got knocked out. Famous Bulldogs debacle, and then we got beaten by the Melbourne Storm. So that was the launching of my career. Really, I got to mix with those guys and learn the hard way with some of those tough heads.
Yeah. In that 98 season, you got your first taste of finals footy. Do you remember much about that final series, and do you remember how different finals footy was to regular season footy?
Yeah, final footies are much quicker. Like there's desperation around it. Everyone says it's just another game. Yes, it is, but there's a lot of hype around it. And I actually played in the grand final against Parramatta for the Crushers under 21s on grand final day. So we played in some finals there, but not up at that big top level. And we were confident. We were a pretty good side, as I said. We had some really good players, and we just circumstances didn't get us to the grand final at the time. But semi-final football is what you play for. It's and further to that, mate, when we're at the Warriors and we made the semis and the grand final on that, and we're going to probably get to 0-2. Next level. That's next level when they made the finals for the first time. I was a part of all that kind of first final, first time we beat the Broncos, first grand final. So every first, and we kept kind of breaking new barriers for it. It was really exciting.
Yeah, well, just like back to your time at Parramatta there. So obviously Brian Smith was the coach there, and he had a fair bit of success there at Parramatta. How would you describe Brian Smith's coaching?
Brian Smith, he's one of the best coaches I've been coached by. He just played a little bit of mind games at the time. And every player will tell you the same thing about Brian Smith. Absolute will make you or break you as a coach, as a player. So he got the best out of you, but he also could just break you. So I had great experiences under Brian. He taught me a lot, and you really wanted to play for the bloke. He was a really good coach. And he was pretty much innovative too. All these tight jerseys and stuff. Brian Smith was one of at Parramatta. We were one of the first clubs to bring it in. And I remember the fitting. I remember he put your jersey on. We had a tailor come into the sheds, and they go, "Well, they put the jersey on, and what feels? How does that feel? Yeah, it's tight. Yep, good, rightio." And then as soon as you took the jersey off with all the pins in it, Brian Smith would say, "Take another inch off that." So it wasn't flattering to me at all. And in a bright yellow jersey, say no more, really.
Okay, well, we have Brian Smith to thank for that. I never knew that.
Brian Smith was one of the pioneers of the tight jerseys, trust me.
Wow. You signed with the Warriors in 2000. How did that move to the Warriors come about? How did you come to be there?
Yeah, well, it's funny you ask. Brian Smith again pulled me aside at training one day and basically said they had an option to sign me, so I signed for 2 years with a 1-year option. And then Brian Smith come to me and said, "Mate, the game's going to pass you by. They're going to bring the interchange back from unlimited to 12, I think it was at the time, and the game's just going to be too quick for you. So we're going to kind of let you go." And I went, "Oh, okay." It kind of come out of the blue, and I just said, "Oh, okay. Do I look around then? And they go, "Yeah, you're free to look around." So I said to the manager, "We're free to look around." And Hugh McGahn actually contacted my manager at the time. Huey was the recruitment guy for the Warriors, and I met with Hugh, and they put a 3-year deal on the table, and I just at the end of the day, I took that offer up. And after the fact, Brian Smith was actually trying to call my bluff a little bit because they knew I was a kind of a loyal type of bloke, and instead of paying me $100,000, I think it was the contract was they wanted to get me a bit cheaper. So they actually wanted to keep me, but they called my bluff a little bit, and the Warriors put a deal on the table we couldn't refuse really. So
lucky for us.
Yeah, very lucky for us. So you were coached by Kiwi legend Mark Graham, and you played in a young team of a lot of future Warriors stars actually. So what are your memories of that first season at the Warriors there?
Oh, it was a tough year. I remember going over there, and it was exciting. It was exciting times. Big Joe Wagner and all those kind of boys were still there, and and I kind of went. Terry Hermanson, the Rock, was there, and they all took me under their wing. I was only just cracking first grade at the time, so I took a little while to actually get into the team because those guys were there. You could see that the talent was there. There was a lot of young, really good players, and obviously Stacey Jones was the key player in the club, and the young Monty Beethams and Henry Farfillies and all these exciting type of guys. It was really good time, a good period for the Warriors.
Yeah, 2000 was a tough season on the field, but it was just as tough off the field for the Warriors. What was the feeling like at the club at the end of the 2000 season where players were just being released and you guys had to fight for the money that you were promised? Like, what was that feeling like amongst the players group? And did you think that you'd be there for 2001?
No, I didn't think I would. I think we were gone. It was chaos actually. There was a whole lot of innuendo going on about who, where, what, and what's going on, and we're getting paid. We didn't get paid for the last few months of our contracts in that year, and there was no money, and there were people buying in and giving all this type of stuff going on. But while all that was happening, the players were like, "No, stick solid, we're good. You know, we're going to do this." And but that was a World Cup year, I think it was, and all the Kiwi boys were away in camp overseas in England, I think. So we were like, "All right."
Yep.
So it was really tough times, you know, where we were, where we stood, whether the contracts stood or what, you know, what was going on. So there was a little bit of helter skelter there for a little while, and then I think Stacey, I think they managed to sign a couple of the big boys from our club, Stacey and that, and they all said, "Yep, we'll agree." And then I think we all fell in order after that, and everyone made sense of it. And I think that's when Eric Watson bought the club, paid and all that type of jazz. So yeah, that was kind of, yeah, it was crazy times, but yeah, it was exciting times. But yeah, that's just part of footy life, really.
Yeah, Watson came in. He was like the saviour and purchased the club ahead of the season. And only 10 of you were from the 2000 roster were kept on. How did the players react to that? And what kind of guy was Eric Watson like? Because in that 25-year anniversary documentary, there's footage of you having a chat with Eric Watson. Yeah, what was he like as a man, as a person?
No, he was a genuine bloke. He didn't talk any crap or anything like that. He was straight to the point. Very astute businessman. And I remember the first thing he did was he got us all as a group when everyone come back together, kind of thing, and took us up to one of these hotel mansions up in Auckland City there somewhere, and we just had a chat to us. And he basically, honestly said that he's purchased the Warriors as a marketing as the marketing enterprise to his wealth. And like he wanted to crack the Australian market. He was really upfront with us, and you know, and we just respected the guy for that. And from there, we all got fitted for Hugo Boss suits and all this jazz, and so yeah, you kind of felt a little bit special. And you see now the boys wearing all their top stuff. So that was the first time. We'd normally just have some shirts and shorts or some jeans to travel in and stuff like that. So we went. Yeah, he really planted his mark on us and said, "Righto, if we're gonna look the part." And I remember we remember getting comments when we travelled to Sydney. Like we'd have like 20 of our staff and players rolling through Sydney Airport, and we looked like the bloody security guards. You know, some of them very sincere, and we're all 6 foot and 110 kilos. So, and we were all just dressed in black with black shoes, black everything. So we're a pretty imposing figure. Even when we turned up to stadiums off the team bus, all in black, we looked tough, mean, and we played accordingly. So it was really good.
Yeah. Well, Daniel Anderson at the time, he was a rookie coach. I think he coached lower grade at Parramatta, and I think he was a friend of or associate of Mick Watson. So they got him over to the club. What kind of impression did he make on the players?
Yeah, mate, he changed the club. He changed New Zealand Rugby League, I believe. He was a part of setting up that barter card competition when they went to, you know, all that type of thing. I know you've gone back to normal provincial stuff now, but yeah, he set up all that development process as well. So he really did a lot of good stuff for the club. I actually knew Daniel from Parramatta. He was the reserve grade coach at Parramatta. And that's kind of how all that came about, me re-signing there as well. When all that was going on, Daniel Anderson was one of the coaches that he was the coach from 2000. So yeah, that's how I kind of come about re-signing and stuff like that. But yeah, no, it's he had the same philosophies as Brian Smith, but he just was a little bit more player savvy, and he had better relationships with the players. So no, he was a really good coach too.
Yeah. Well, there was like an immediate improvement within the playing group in 2001, like immediate, like yeah. So what do you put that down to? The sort of change and reversal in form and everything between 2000 and 2000.
Yeah, I talk a lot about. I don't know if it's controversial or not, but I talk a lot about the bro code, and I think Daniel had a really good mix in that 2000-2001 season. We had a really good mix of Aussies and Kiwi players, Aussie-based players and Kiwi players. That was when they got the Campions, the Clearys, and all these type of players who. And again, it's no blight on the Kiwi-born, New Zealand-born Kiwis, but they're just so kind and respectful. and sometimes it's detrimental when you're under the pump. And what I think what Daniel brought and what that team in 2001 started was that you're here to play footy, and while you're here, there's no shortcuts. You're accountable and all that type of stuff. Whereas in the past, when you're under the pump and one of them take a shortcut and they didn't get accountable, they weren't held accountable for it. So we used that like at training. If someone took a shortcut, you would cop a verbal spraying from the boys, and they meant it, and you dealt with it and got on with it and learnt from it. But so that's when they say bro code. I think we just brought a lot of the Australian-based players just brought that not acceptable, get the job done attitude, and no shortcuts, or you're going to be held accountable to the team rather than just it'll be all right, mate. And that's kind of and Daniel Anderson. I remember Daniel Anderson. Like during a game or at half time, if one of the Kiwi boys had stuffed up, done an offload, stupid, or Ali Lautiti was one of them who would load at will. Sometimes Daniel would say, "Don't offload in our own half" or whatever, and he'd do a stupid one. And I remember one half time, Daniel just absolutely ripped shreds off him in his face, swearing at him, telling him, "It's you so and so," and all that. And Ali went to water. He really went to water. He didn't like that. He was like taking it personal. Whereas it's just the heat of the moment type stuff. And Daniel had to learn that you can't do that with those type of players. Confidence, Whereas the Aussies, they can slap us around the face, headbutt, do whatever they do, and we just react to it. Yeah, we stuffed up. We know. Slap me across the face and let's go. So that was the kind. It's just learning the individuals and stuff like that. And I think it might have changed a little bit more now, because it's so much more professional and everything like that. But yeah, there's definitely that element, and I think what we brought to the organisation, that really installed that type of attitude.
Yeah, in that 2001 season, the team went on a really impressive run at the back end of the season. You beat the Bulldogs, Panthers, Sharks, and Roosters, and then you had a draw with Melbourne, and then you lost the last game of the season against the Cowboys. And a win
at home.
A win in that game. Yeah, a winning that game would have seen you finish 7th and play the Dogs in the semis, but you end up finishing 8th, and you had to. Yeah, it came up against a red hot Parramatta.
Yep.
Do you put that down, that loss to the Cowboys down to inexperience within the group, or did the tough wins of those 4 and 5 weeks leading into that just take their toll on the young guys in that side?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, not even the young guys, everyone. I think we put a lot of effort into making the semis for the first time. It was talked about a lot. We did it, and we didn't have to win the last game. I know you want to win it to go 7 in hindsight and all that. But again, I say this all the time. No NRL club or player goes out to lose the next game or goes out to lose ever. And you just can't keep yourself up for the whole season. It's impossible. No. You're a human being and you get tired. You've had a bad week. The missus is up, you're arguing or whatever it might be. So you just can't be up all the time. And I think we were up for quite a long time, like you said. And we made it. We've done it. We got our grand final. We reached our goal. And, we got to the semis. We don't need to worry about who we're playing. We're in the semis. And then, we were going to put our energy into Parramatta, who were just too good. But, that was kind of a mental thing, I think. I remember the game. We needed to win it. We wanted to win it. But we'd celebrated the week before that we made the semis for the first time for the club. So.
Yeah. Well, on a different note, you're also well known for driving a Mini around Auckland. What made you choose the Mini?
Well, my uncle actually had a Mini when I was growing up, and it was a panel van Mini. Actually, it was a 2-door with a big wagon at the back, station wagon. So ever since then, he used to drop me to school in it and stuff like that every now and then, and I just had that love for Minis. To be honest, I've always wanted to own one, and there was one advertised where I was living just around the corner from me up there in Pakuranga, and went and had a look at it, and it looked all right. So that's when I purchased it.
Yeah, the whole big man in a little car sort of really added to the cult status, didn't it?
yeah, that's why it's a bit weird and a bit funny, but I fit it all right. I'll tell you, I wasn't stretching out in it. It was not as comfortable as any other car, but it's a bit of fun.
That 2001 season, you guys were tipped to get the wooden spoon, and you made the semis, and then the whole team went to another level in 2002. Obviously, it was what you were talking about before. It was a mix of the veterans, the young talent, eliminating that bro code, making everyone accountable for what they did on and off the field.
Oh yeah, absolutely, mate. Yeah, that's what I'd put it down to. We pretty much maintained the same side as well, and added a few really good keys. I think they in 2001 or 2002, PJ Marsh came to the club, which really stiffened up through the middle there, and he went on and played Origin. So yeah, we had a really good skill mix, and again, all those younger players were that year older, you know, and you know they were confident as well. So yeah, we had a really good side, you know, too, for sure.
Yeah, I personally, I think 2002 was your best season in the NRL, and a couple of tries that I remember quite fondly from that 2002 season versus the Cowboys. We set up that try for Clinton Toopi from the kickoff. Can you talk us through that one?
Yeah, it's a strange one, that one. I honestly, so me and John Buttigieg from the Cowboys, I billeted John Buttigieg. We used to play against each other in rep footy and stuff. So I've billeted John Buttigieg when we were 16. When they came down. So I knew Butts really well. And off the kickoff, John Buttigieg was trying to kill me, to smash me. And I honestly did, put on a little left foot step because I saw him coming out of me. I knew he was going to get me. And I just put on a little left foot step to get away from him. And he just kind of kept going. So the hole opened up. And I just pinned the ears back. And I was definitely not going to get there. So I then hit Ivan Cleary, I think, who then hit the kickoff. And it was a real strange one. I did that one, and then I think I scored in the same game as well. I scored a try, which is rare. So I had a pretty good night out up there, and it's normally pretty tough up there because it was always hot. So I was sweaty, and again, fitness was always the key up there.
Well, you say you didn't get too many tries, but I remember a game against the West Tigers, also in 2002, where you got a double. One of them,
my only double.
Yeah.
I remember that one. I actually came off the bench that day as well. And the first one that I scored when Kevin Campion dropped me under, I'd literally come on the field just then. I'd run onto the field. I was basically in the centres, heading towards the middle, and I was fresh, so that helps. And Campo just literally, I just ran. I was rolling through to the middle, and Campo just ran across. So he gave it to me, and with fresh legs, I just pinned the ears back and got lucky and scored a try. And then the other one was just a kick. We didn't really practice it at training, but we were always learning, told to chase kicks and stuff like that. And I didn't call for it or anything. I was just kind of loitering around the post and the ball went up in the air. So I think I left the ground by at least a couple of centimeters. And
for sure.
Oh yeah, climbed high. You climbed high.
Plenty of hang time.
It was funny. That was the only time I've scored 2 tries in a game. And back then as well, I've got a prized art piece that Boo Bailey does for Player of the Round back in the day. Yeah, and I won that award. So I've got I'm sitting there with a fat little chubby face with a tiger's tail coming out through me mouth. So I hold that one pretty close to the heart. Actually, a little Boo Bailey artwork.
Nice. So I believe it might have been in 2002. I think yourself and Brent Webb got selected in the Queensland sort of emerging squad. Is that right?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I was actually the captain of the 2000. It was 2000. I was the captain of the emerging Origin side.
Yep.
And there was a couple of players you might know. Cameron Smith was in my team. And
I think I've heard of him. Yeah.
Is he still playing?
Bennett coached it, and but there was a few boys in there, but I captained it just because I was the oldest bugger in the team. So we played Papua New Guinea in like a 2-test series, one up in Cairns and one down at Penrith, I think it was. So that was exciting and good fun. I never made Origin, mate, because Origin was always picked at the start of the year, and I always put on weight in the off season and had a slow start to the year. I was never fit enough. I remember PJ Marsh coming back from Origin when he played, and when he got replaced, he started the game. He got replaced, and he was saying he could not feel his legs. He was like out on his feet, and he's the fittest bloke I know. So I don't know. I would not have been fit enough for Origin.
I love your honesty. I love your honesty, bro.
I mean, and I guess probably counting against you was there's some fairly handy props playing for Queensland at that time. You know, Shane Webke, Steve Price, and these guys. But you wouldn't have been you wouldn't have been out of place in State of Origin, in my opinion. So you're just unlucky to miss out there. But just going back to the 2002 season. So obviously you finished the year minor premiers after the Bulldogs had all their points stripped for rorting the salary cap. So what was the feeling like going in as minor premiers and having the whole city of Auckland and the whole country of New Zealand like right behind you there? What was that like?
As far as minor premiers go, it was we didn't really think much of that. We got lucky. I think the Bulldogs were 6 clear or something like that when they lost their points. So we really got lucky in that aspect. But yeah, we were on a roll. We were confident. You know, no team could beat us. We could only beat ourselves that year. And yeah, we were very confident. And playing in that semi-final against Cronulla at Shark Park was really the highlight. Making it to the grand final. Eric Watson handed out 3 tickets basically to all expat Kiwis in Australia for the semi-final and the grand final. So they were doing huckers in the stand, and we sang the New Zealand national anthem and the Australian national anthem. So just things like that. And I think there was 45,000 at the Cronulla game in the stands, and probably 30,000 of them would have been Kiwis supporting us. And then and then there was 5 or 10,000 at the airport when we got home. It was chaos and crazy. So for the grand final, when we come home, Dave Dobbin put on a concert back at Ericsson Stadium, or Smart, and we had to, and then we went back there after when we got back to New Zealand, and they said don't go to the airport because it just caused chaos. So we went to the stadium after it, and just met the fans and stuff like that.
Yeah. So just going back a little bit. So that first finals game you played against Canberra at Mount Smart. That was actually the first ever finals game played outside of Australia. So it was a very special occasion. And,
we played well in that one too. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, it was packed stadium. You scored a barnstorming try yourself.
I think I remember scoring a try in that game. I didn't know.
Oh, we know, mate. We've got all the details.
We know it
all. That 2000, you were talking about that 2000 preliminary final against Cronulla and about Eric Watson. I remember Eric Watson purchased 15,000 tickets, and living in Sydney, they put out the call that anyone with a New Zealand passport could get 4 tickets to the game. So, yeah, I was there. I got my New Zealand passport out, got my 4 tickets, and you're right. It was about 45,000 screaming Kiwis. We were all doing harkers. It was a party atmosphere. How confident were you guys heading into that match?
We were confident. Yeah, we were always confident. Like I said, we at that stage we could only beat ourselves. We were pretty confident. We had a really good well-rounded squad. It was semi-finals. We were realistic. But yeah, we were on a bit of a roll as well. We were pretty confident and we were doing well. And yeah, it was a tight game, Cronulla. It was a tough one for sure. They had a really good side as well. But yeah, we knew we were good enough to go all the way. We just had to keep doing what we were doing all year.
Well, you're right what you said, that you guys could only beat yourselves, because during that year, that's when Canterbury went on that 15-game winning run, and it was the Warriors that ended that 15-game winning run of the Bulldogs too. So a lot of people don't realise that, and there's always been that conjecture that if the Bulldogs had made the semis, they would have won the grand final, but or they would have been in the grand final. But I've always maintained that wouldn't be the case, because we'd already proved that we were the side that could knock them off in games of footy.
They had a really good pack. It was always a really tough
game.
They
did. I remember that year there was news reports when I think Matty Utai made his debut for the Bulldogs that year, and there was like stories of Matty Utai's never lost a game of footy, and they came up against the mighty Warriors, and we changed it. There's a famous scene of you and Kevin Campion embracing after that Cronulla match. Tell us what he was like as a teammate.
Oh, he was unbelievable, Campo. He's one of the toughest blokes I ever played with. Real hard and just dry, we're here to get the job done. Let's do it. When we're off the field and just relaxing, he was just a relaxed gentleman. Even don't hurt me or don't be rough with me. Just, relax, man. But on the field, he was just an animal. So the field again, didn't do nothing stupid. Didn't, was just a genuine normal bloke on the field. Crazy, put his head where people won't put their foot kind of thing. So Campo, I still keep in contact with Campo. He lives here on the Gold Coast as well. So he's a really good mate of mine. And he was one of the toughest players I played with for sure.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, so how was the build up to the grand final? Obviously, a massive moment in the club's history, qualifying for the first ever grand final. What was the feeling like? The build up in New Zealand, and what was the feeling like it within the playing group?
We had a young side. Like we had Campo and Ivan, those guys. So they kept us pretty well grounded. But we had a young side, so the excitement was there. New Zealand was going crazy. They loved it. The media wanted a lot of us. So that last week we didn't do much training at all. We did a little bit of recovery. I think we flew back into Auckland on a Saturday. I think of Sunday after the game. It was a Sunday, I think it was, and then but we were heading back to Sydney back on the Wednesday, and we had to do all the New Zealand media, train, recover, and do all that as well. So it was a pretty hectic week. We had to come back to Sydney Wednesday night, I think it was, for the Thursday grand final breakfast. So we had all that on the Thursday. Then I think we had a bit of a training session, captain's run Thursday or Friday, and then played the game. So there was not much training needed. We just needed to get our heads back in the game and get ready for the big one again. So yeah.
Just on that, mate, what kind of food do they serve at the grand final breakfast?
Don't even get started on food. Grand final breakfast, I think it was a bacon and a sausage or something like that, and some eggs or something like that. But it's funny you say the food. So we'd spent the last 2 weeks, traveling to Sydney for Cronulla, then doing the grand final preparation and all that. So we did a lot of hotel stuff. We went and did our captain's run on the Friday night, I think it was, at the stadium. But you had to walk through the East Roosters gym and all that. And through the tunnel, see. So one of our trainers has actually jumped on some scales right next to the entry to the tunnel. And he said to Daniel Anderson, holy shit, I've put on 5 kilos this week or something like that. And so Daniel Anderson says, get the players and get them on these friggin' scales. And so we've all got to weigh in. So I'm 5 kilos here as well. And he just looked at me like, oh my God, like looks could kill. And I'd put on 5 kilos over the last 2 weeks as well. So he was pissed off with us all, and a few blokes had put on a few kilos here and there. But I'm like, oh no, not weighing in. He's got me again. So it's all good.
In that 25-year anniversary documentary, Daniel Anderson says that when the Warriors were doing their captain's run, Billy Idol was practicing his pre-game entertainment at the ground, and as we all know, he suffered those technical difficulties at the actual grand final. So no one actually got to hear him perform. But Daniel Anderson says that the Warriors are the only ones that got to hear him perform. And was it Henry Farfili got up on stage and was dancing with him during that time as well?
Oh, I honestly can't remember, but it would have been someone like Henry for sure. Yeah, he would do.
Did you get to meet Billy?
Pardon?
Did you get to meet Billy Idol yourself?
No. They were down at the end of the field, rocking behind the goalpost, just on the stage. They were more doing sound checks and stuff like that. And So, I think from memory, we were doing kicking and catching. The boys were kicking and catching, and the 2 wingers had dropped back and the fullback and stuff. So I think that's how that come about with Henry. One of the boys had him down the stage somewhere to get a ball. And
in the game itself, that as coaches always say, try and get an early touch or make an early tackle to get the nerves out of the way. In the game itself, you took the first hit up of the game from the kickoff. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I didn't remember it initially. I did not remember taking the first hit up at the grand final. After the game, and 3 months later, when I watched the replay again, I then thought, Jesus, I actually carried the first one off the kickoff. I didn't realise that. But yeah, I don't know. I was just I didn't get knocked out or anything like that. I just was in the moment, and it was I didn't start too many games in my career actually. So to do that was pretty. I was impressed with that, and I honestly can't remember. Obviously, I think I had number 10 on my back, but I just don't remember the starting the game or anything. It was just crazy.
Well, on the grand final, there was a lot made about what actually happened at half time in the sheds. So there's a lot of reports that there was some kind of recording played about you guys beating the Broncos in the grand final or something like that. Is there any truth to that?
It wasn't beating the Broncos in the grand final. It was, so they did a little bit of an audio thing because we had a few departing players, and they did a bit of an audio thing where they were just mucking around at training or a chip and chasing the game, that type of thing. And they put together, it went for about 3 minutes, I think it was, and it was emotional and things like that. But yeah, and then at halftime, like it had never been done all season, but we'd never seen it before. The video that we saw was actually, they showed us at training and stuff like that. So he just played that at halftime as a bit of a motivation or something like that. And it was weird. It was different. I don't think it won us or lost us the game, to tell you the truth, to be honest. But yeah, we kind of came in and we had to go sit on the plastic chairs and watch the big screen. And yeah, we normally come in, have a drink of water and listen to whatever we need to do best and chat with each other. So it was a little bit different. He tried, it didn't work, but I don't think we won or lost us the game from that.
Yeah, well,
Stacey's.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, mate. Go.
Yeah, sorry. This is just while we're on the topic, is a question from my mate Robbie Daly. So he was wondering, was there actually an altercation between Campo and Daniel Anderson at halftime?
No, there's no altercation.
No.
Nah. I think after it, Campo may have voiced his opinion about
What is this shit? What is this shit? What is this shit?
But honestly, yeah, there was no altercation. Like, there was nothing happened at halftime, other than watching a video that we hadn't done all year. We just did what we needed to do. I think Stacey said some words, and the leaders kind of spoke to their sections like normal. But yeah, it was just a little bit different, really. I'm here nor there with it.
Yeah. Stacey's try is one of the best individual tries in a grand final, and it seemed to really lift the team until Big Villa the Gorilla put that hit on Freddie, and that kind of changed the momentum of the game. How do you, like being in that game, how do you look back on that game and the whole grand final experience?
Well, it's funny is everyone says it, and I was in the game and I know what happened. And Richard Villasanti didn't do nothing to Freddie.
Didn't he go in for a tackle and hit his head?
I'll tell you what happened. So if you watch in the game, Freddie goes to kick the ball and Wairangi Kupu charges him down, or jumps up to do a charge down. When Wairangi Kupu's charged him down, he's clipped him with his elbow.
Oh.
And he's just grazed his elbow across his eyebrow and split him. So Freddie falls back on the ground, and as he's done that, Villa has pounced on him and looks like he's come home and got him with an elbow. He's already bleeding by now. And then when he sits up to the camera, he's got blood everywhere. Villa just jumps on him to make the tackle and stop the play. But it was actually Wairangi Kupu who just clipped him and just split him. It looks like on an old scar, and just split him. And that's but it's irrelevant to the fact from then, Freddie just turned it on and for him. Like, it was, the rest is history. But yeah, poor old Villa gets smashed for that.
He does.
It was actually a charge down from Wairangi.
Wow.
Reflected him.
Well, if you ever see this Richard Villasanti, I apologise.
I'm sorry, Villa.
For all these years.
Well, you heard it here first, folks. That's dispelled all those old wives' tales about that incident. So there you go.
Yeah.
Well, we won't go too much more into the 2002 grand final because it didn't go too well from about that point on.
From that point on, let's stop the game there.
We'll stop. I normally turn it off after Stacey's try, and that's it.
8-6, and that's it.
That was the final score as far as I'm concerned. Going into 2003 though, obviously you had a couple of key departures in obviously Campo and Ivan Cleary, so a couple of experienced old heads in the team went out, and But having said that, 2003 was another successful season, and we finished just short of the grand final. So we lost to that Penrith team that went on to win the grand final. What are your memories of the following season, 2003?
Yeah, we definitely had lost. You know, the Campo and Ivan were a really big loss. But yeah, there was no real hangover from the grand final or anything like that. I think in 2003 we just consolidated what we'd done with 02. We just came off we were still building as a club and everything like that. And but yeah, a few of the boys were hurting from losing the grand final. And but yeah, we just had to get back onto it, and we were very consistent through that era.
Yeah.
2004 was probably the toughest year in Warriors history. A number of key players, including yourself, departed the club.
Yep.
What was the feeling like amongst the players when Ali was kind of sacked? Because I can remember as a fan and as a member, we were kind of blindsided. I mean, living in Australia, we didn't get a lot of the news early, what they do in New Zealand. We were kind of blindsided by that decision for the club to release Ali.
Yeah.
How did that?
It was a real weird one. I think, again, I'm only going on what I've been told about that, but Mick Watson, the CEO at the time, had called Ali in for a meeting, and words were said, and Mick, I think, apparently Mick Watson had said to Ali, what's most important in your life? And Ali said family.
Yeah.
And Mick Watson goes, so the Warriors and rugby league is not your most important part of life. And he goes, no, definitely my family, they come first. And then Mick basically said, if that's your attitude, you can go. And Ali's gone, okay, I'm out. And Ali literally come back. I remember sitting there, we were all milling around the gym. I think it might have been around over lunchtime or something like that. And Ali's kind of walked into his locker, grabbed his stuff and walked out the gym. And we were all just absolutely dumbfounded by it. And I think he signed with a club in England, Leeds or something, after, like, pretty much straight away, just gone. And then there was a bit of a procession after that. We were just kind of, I don't know I don't know if the club was trying to revamp themselves, or because I think Daniel Anderson then left the club, and then Tony Kemp actually took over from Daniel halfway through that year, and that was the demise for me. Kempy had basically told me to get going as well, and there was quite a few that they all just departed after that. But yeah, I think the Ali situation was dealt with pretty randomly, really.
Yeah.
That's a nice bloke, champion bloke, but yeah, just that situation. I don't know where it come from, why, where, how, but yeah, it resulted in catastrophic, really, for the club.
It sure did. Like, I mean, as you said, Daniel Anderson was sacked, resigned, whatever actually happened, like, not long after that. So what do you think went wrong between 2003, when your preliminary final, and 2004? It just all seemed to fall apart. What do you think? What do you think put that down?
Yeah, I honestly don't know. Obviously, something was going on up the top, away from the footy field, for all that shenanigans to kind of go on. When that becomes unstable, the players, you can't hide that. The players know, and I think that was the demise of it all. And when you do something like that to one of the beloved Ali, he is one of the best blokes you'll ever meet, and you just show him the door, then there's just no confidence. There was just absolutely no confidence there. So, and then from there it was just there was a whole lot of cancer in the club then, and all the little innuendo talk and all that, and you just can't be successful when there's that stuff going on. I think that's the only answer I can put it down to. There was turmoil up in the hierarchy there somewhere, and it just filtered through.
After you
I don't know if the staff at that time could handle the glamour of where the club was. It was there for the first time as well. They're in the spotlight. There was expectation now to make from the public and the sponsors and the media, I don't know if they handled that kind of, well, we're a kind of top 4 side now every year. I don't know if they handled that.
Yeah. After you spent time at the Warriors, you had 3 seasons in the English Super League with Castleford Tigers, London Broncos and Harlequins. How did you find the ESL compared to the NRL?
Because I actually really enjoyed it. I had to go to England. I had to leave in the 04 season because there's a qualification. Back then, there was a qualification period, and you had to play 75% of your last 100 games or 20 games or something like that, of the last season, I think it was. And my actual qualification was running out if I didn't play, because I wasn't getting NRL games through 04. I was kind of getting a little bit here and there. I was playing more for Mount Albert down there, the Mount Albert.
Lions.
And so I had to go. I had to make a decision, and then we had to just go with it. So I went to Castleford because Sean Long from Cronulla had done his medial ligament, and he was retiring. So they had a spot for an Australian-based player. So myself and a guy named Stephen Crouch went over. The Castleford Tigers is a great club. They're passionate fans. They're real passionate fans. that rugby league is all they kind of have up in the woods there. And I really enjoyed my time there. They were coming last, and we kind of had to get them out of relegation. So we were under a bit of pressure. And we nearly made it. We just we lost the last game against Wakefield, and we needed to win that one, and we needed a couple of results to go our way to get out. And it was a sad day. That was the last. That was the first and only time that the club's been relegated out of that English league. That's when I went to London. So.
You played 125 games, first-grade games in the NRL with 3 clubs over 9 seasons. And I think I know who you're going to say, but who was the toughest teammate you ever played with?
The toughest teammate I ever played with? Yeah, it was definitely Kevin Campion.
Yeah.
He was one tough bugger. He's one of those guys that when you look at the team list and he's in the team, you're feeling better because he's going to do a lot of the work. He's going to do a lot of work. He's going to be beside you, and he ain't going to, cat it or go missing or anything like that. So he was one guy that I played footy with. Dean Pay was another one. When I went to Parramatta, I was just a young kid, and I was only like 19, 20 when I went down there. I was about, I think I was 10 or 15 NRL games in. So to learn from him when there was no such thing as grapple tackle and none of this. So it was a tough old period of, and he taught me a lot on how to be tough and play hard and everything like that. So those 2 guys come to mind straight away. But there's been plenty of tough boys that I've played with.
So who was the toughest opponent that you played against?
The toughest opponent, 100%, is Ruben Wiki. When he was
big Roo, Canberra.
Mate, he was like, again, there's no fat on him, and whether he had the ball or you had the ball, like you knew when you collide with him, it's going to hurt. He was muscle and bone, mate. So, and he still is the bar.
I was going to say he looks fitter now than he did when he played.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, no, he's an absolute champion. I caught up with him actually at the grand final last year. I do the boys New Zealand from Invercargill there. I do a trip with the grand final down there every year, and have the Raiders is the team that I support now, and they and Ruben was the special guest for the Ken Stevenson's medal, so he actually came on the boat with us, and we had a few beers, and it was great to catch up with him actually.
Well, I've got a couple more questions. I feel that you may have answered these already.
That's right.
Who was the hardest person to tackle?
Hardest person to tackle, Ruben was definitely one. The other ones were like when we played the Broncos through that era, Webke and Sibin Asiva. Yeah. Shane Webke was one of the toughest players as well, just for the sheer fact from hit up number 1 to hit up number 20, he ran the same.
Yeah.
Like there was no in between. He was just flat chat. So you always had to respect. He wasn't. He would run over the top of you. He would try and run over the top of you. No problem about that. But there was no, I'm going to bounce you an offloader. And he just ran hard, and you had to stop him. Petro was exactly the same as Ruben. He had no fat on him at all. He was as hard as nails. But he had offload, and he had a bit more in him, so it was a bit scary. But like even I would hate to have been on the other side of Afekia Paliacina.
Oh, Mr. Effective.
I was lucky, but Secker was at the top of his game. He was just absolutely powerful.
That try he set up against South Sydney that day, where he ran over the top of that poor little Fijian bloke and put Clinton Tookey away. I mean, that was brutal. That was absolutely brutal.
He used to run. He used to run like he was galloping, didn't he?
Well, he ran. I remember one day he ran that hard. They tackled him. I think he scored a try, but he split his spleen.
Oh yeah.
What?
Yeah. He, just on impact, he and he was hunched over after the game, and we're like, oh, he's broken a rib or something. But he had a ruptured spleen from an impact because he just ran so hard, and someone obviously met him with another big collision, and he ruptured his spleen and was off to hospital. And I don't know if he had it removed or what. Like just that type of stuff was next level.
So again, you probably answered this, but who is the hardest tackler in the opposition? Who's the biggest hit man that you played against?
Oh, I played against a few actually. I played against a few. Well, Matt Rua from the Melbourne Storm he was well known. He was well known. But again, Rubes, if he hit you stayed hit, mate. He was ruthless, really. There's a lot of them, But because I played at the start of I played like in the late 1990s. So there was still real tough men around back then when there was no grapple, no such thing. So in my first 5 games, I played against Newcastle Knights, and it was one of the games I actually was scared. And I had Paul Harrigan, Tony Butterfield, Adam Muir, like all these guys. I'm an 18-year-old, and they were headbutting me in the scrum and ripping me ears. Like it was a scary time. And there's a lot of big hitters in the game. But Rubes, you tried to run away from him.
Yeah, right.
Well, tip on.
Playing at the Warriors meant a lot of international travel for you guys. Who was your roommate when the Warriors played in Australia, when you stayed at hotels over here?
Yeah, mate, I had a couple. I had Justin Morgan. I was with Villa. I was normally with one of the front rowers. But we tried to keep us with the gamblers, really. We always played cards, and so it was always me, and it was normally me and Morg versus Arwen and Stacey. They were the arch enemy and the bloody cheats at Euchre and all that. So. We used to play from when we left. We got on the bus to when we kicked off the ball. We used to play cards and just have a bit of fun, really, and relax.
Yeah. Well, I mean, after your footy career ended, you dabbled in a bit of local politics in your hometown there at Logan. How'd you find yourself involved in local politics?
Oh, mate, I was when I retired, I was doing recruitment and development for the Canberra Raiders in Logan, where I come from. I'm from Logan, and they had an affiliation through Meninga and Daly, Belcher, and that. So through the South Logan and the Canberra Raiders team. So I ended up getting a job there. And I was just in the community all the time with schools and finding kids and doing programs and all that type of jazz. And then I met a couple of politician mates. They became mates, and I actually did a bike ride from Brisbane to Canberra for charity in 2008. And on that ride, I had 3 politicians and a couple of police guys and a couple of footy coaches. So we kind of formed a relationship there. Honestly, how the politics came about was the guy that was running, that was the current local member in my area where I lived, was retiring after 32 years. And there was a spot there. And these guys convinced me and endorsed me to run for it. And there was four candidates in my race. And Logan and Southeast Queensland's a real Labor dominant area. And the guy that represented Labor ended up getting the votes, and he got in. He's now the deputy mayor up there in the area. And politics definitely wasn't for me. I realised that kind of halfway through the election, and I went through with it and had a good experience. But there's too much politics involved with it, mate. And I call it as it is. So I wouldn't have been a successful politician for sure.
In previous interviews, you've always been pretty open and honest about your struggles with weight, and how after you retired, you put on a couple of kilos,
More than
you're kind of like me. You're one of those people that you can't just train for the sake of training. You've got to have some goal to work towards. And
absolutely.
Tell us about how you trained and completed the Gold Coast Marathon.
Yeah, it's really funny actually. So when I retired, I put on 10 kilos a year. So I topped out at 157 kilos, and I got down to about 140 or odd kilos, and I put an ad in the paper, and said who would like to do a marathon with me, and I just put a little ad in the paper and put my photo in there. I got 5 replies. So I organised an old mate from Marsden High School, actually a school teacher, and he was the PE head of PE, and I signed him up to be the coach for our running, and I signed him up also for our diets and stuff like that. So I put together with his assistance, I put together a package where they paid. I can't remember the actual price. I think it was $250 each up front, and we got them protein shakes and we did diet and weigh-ins and all that. All to help aid me in my journey, but to help them as well. So we ended up getting 11 for the Gold Coast Marathon, and we trained really hard. I lost 30 kilos over I think it was 6 months that we trained for. I lost about 30 kilos. Everyone else lost about 12 to 15 kilos. And we all completed the marathon, not as a group, but together. We all were there at the end and stuff like that. So that was the first one, and I planned on doing I planned on doing 3 marathons back to back. So I then did the Brisbane Marathon, and then I went on and did the Sunny Coast Marathon after that. So that was 3 marathons in 12 weeks. And after doing the first one, I was like, "You beauty, did it." That was a goal of mine, life goal. We just walked it and then ran it and did a little bit of that the whole way through. But yeah, when I got to the 3rd marathon in the 12 weeks, I hadn't done any much training after the first one, because I thought, "Oh yeah, I'm good to go. I'll just get this next one done." So by the time I did the 3rd one, I tore an ITB in my knee. And it was torture. It was the darkest day of my life. I got it finished, but it was a very tough day. And I was doing it on my own. I had no one with me, so it was just a really crap day, real crap everything. Nothing went to plan. Got it finished, and I've done 8 now. So I've completed 8 full marathons, and I'm planning on doing a couple more. I'm looking to do an Ironman. Actually, I want to do the Taupo Ironman over New Zealand. That's my lifetime goal. And I've actually spoken to Mad Butcher about maybe trying to get a sponsor to help me get over there and do it, and I'll do some media interviews and stuff like that. So I was actually going to come in March next year and try and have a go, but with COVID and stuff, it's kind of stuffed it up. So I might wait another 12 months for March in 2022. I might even look at the Auckland one. I don't know, but I really need to. I need a really good swim, because swim is my best leg, but I can't swim against currents and stuff like that, or I'll be stuck. So.
Mate, keep us updated on all of that, because we'll do whatever we can to help. If some fundraising or anything like that. We're not going to help compete. No, we'll watch. we'll come and watch. We'll be the guys on the side of the road that hold the drinks for you when you come after your bike and stuff.
All those assistants.
You achieved so much post rugby league playing career, and as you mentioned before, you were a talent scout there at Logan Brothers and for the Canberra Raiders, and you were quite instrumental in getting Josh Papali to
I was as a team, we did really well. We ran a really good program, second to none. When I was there, and there was a guy. It's funny. The guy that ran the program up here in Queensland and helped me get the job was actually the guy who recruited me to the NRL. Brian Edwards. He was the guy who got me to go to the Crushers. When I came home and retired, I touched base with him, and he goes, "Hang in there. There might be something going around here with the Raiders." And I'm like, "Okay, yeah, sweet as." So I got the job there, and then, but when I come home, my first thing that I wanted to do was go back to Woodridge High School, my old school. And so I just went back there and said, "Can I help you do some footy stuff? I'm keen to help out where I can, blah, blah, blah." And then I saw this massive Polynesian kid named Josh Papali, and I'm like, "Oh, who's this kid?" And they said, "Oh, yeah, that's Josh, yeah." And I'm like, no, who's this kid? We need to do something. And he's the one kid that I can say that I actually promoted to sign this kid. I work with Milford and Papali, Edric Lee, Brenko Lee, all those guys all come through that Logan system. And there was about 11 or 12 of them at the time. So I was very lucky to work with these young talented kids. And so Josh Papali is one kid that I actually pushed on the Raiders and said, mate, this kid's good. Let's sign him. It was funny. We had to send a video down to Canberra showing how good he was. And they kind of said, Polly, slow leg speed. And I said, he's watching the right guy. And they're like, oh, yeah. And so they hummed and hard for maybe a couple of weeks. And then in that off season, they brought up an SG Bull side. So we had a little scrimmage against each other. It was more of a trip for the Raiders kids. But they'd come up and play against the South Logan squad who we'd put together. Well, Josh Papali and Shannon Boyd ripped shreds off each other in the game. They absolutely smashed each other. Shannon Boyd was their big marquee person, and Papali just leveled him, and then he leveled Papali when he read it too. So at half time, they've just gone, whoa, used to come off. No more, seen enough. And then the rest is kind of history. He's gone and done amazing things. So, that's in a nutshell. That's why I support the Raiders. They've been my team since I retired. I obviously keep an eye on the Warriors as well. I have a lot to do with the Warriors when they come over, and I catch up. I've been a guest at the training and stuff like that, Steve Kearney and that. So, I support the Warriors now. For Papali and Jack White, and again, I had a relationship with him, just going down there every other year and meeting him and talking with him and Croker and those type of guys. So, I have a soft spot for the Raiders. But, Papali's a very, very humble guy and really hard worker. He deserves everything he gets.
Yeah, you're still involved in rugby league coaching at the Oakey Bears up in Toowoomba?
Yeah, I was. Yeah, I'm
you
not
were?
doing that anymore. Yeah,
not doing it now?
Last couple of seasons. I actually played there. I played there in A grade there 2 or 3 years ago, and then they wanted me to go around again. I went, but I'm a better coach than a bloody player at the moment. I was just getting a bit older. I think I was about 40 years old at the time. So, I had a run, and it's funny. I started in the forwards and just, I did and then these are all young Cowboys, like real fit, bloody angry, hard working white fellas. And I didn't want to get involved with the shit. It was all too hard. So I said to the coach, put me out in the back row on the edge, and I'll go and tie down an edge. So put me out there, and I kind of got through the season all right, and limped my way through it. But I was more bluffing my way through the season, to be honest. And then the next year I became the head coach there for a season.
We've got some questions coming through on the live feed. Okay, so Michael Howe says, how hard is it for you to see the Warriors consistently falling short of where they should be on the table considering their roster?
Mate, I don't think they've fallen short, to be honest. I think they've been unlucky a couple of times. I think this season here was a groundbreaking season for them. What they went through and where they ended up, but again, like they keep doing, they keep shooting themselves in the foot. To sack Steve Kearney at that time, there's something's got to be going on behind the scenes, surely. Like I just don't get it. But they galvanise themselves and come back, and like they always do. But mate, the NRL is a tough gig, and you can't just keep putting young kids in all the time. You need to really look towards a goal and recruitment, and it's a tough gig at the moment, and especially now the competition's so close. It's unbelievably close, So it's frustrating that they haven't gone on and done more. But like West Tigers are the same, mate. They keep sitting with the Warriors every year at about that 9th or 10th spot. They've got to go to the next level, and they're just short at the moment. That's just rugby league at the moment.
It's interesting what you said about when the Warriors got rid of Steve Kearney, because Rob and I had this conversation at the exact same time when it did happen. As did a lot of supporters and members. I guess we were lucky, though, that there was a guy like Todd Payton to step in, because he did a fantastic job and really galvanised that side. And I don't know if anyone else would have been able to do that this year with those boys. I just think he had that no-nonsense kind of attitude about him.
Yeah. And Justin Morgan, again, you see him on the stuff there, and he knows the players, he knows footy, and he's done that. He did that when he retired and went to England. He did that with the I think it was a Hull FC or Hull KR.
Yep.
So yeah, mate. They did a really good job. But it was just weird timing. I don't know what was behind it. But again, you don't go coach on the coach if there's no dramas going on up at the top level. You can sugarcoat it or anything anytime you like. But when your coach gets sacked like that, that's just weird. I don't know. There's something not right about that. You know, they weren't going bad either. They were just pottering around that top 8 type, just outside the top 8. So
Yeah.
It was just a weird decision. I just don't know. It's here or there for me, obviously. You know, it had to be the right one, I suppose. In the end, they don't really come home well, but yeah, each to their own. I just don't know. I don't know why they come up with those decisions.
Christian asked, "What did you enjoy the most about your time with the Warriors?"
Oh, mate, the fans. I really enjoyed my time at the Warriors, and you know, I stopped it every time that someone wanted to have a chat. It's shopping and anything like that. So I come from Parramatta, which was, you know, you're in the big smoke down there in Sydney, out west, where you know you tuck way into Auckland, where you're the only team in the whole country, and you know, and the people wanted you to see success because they hadn't had much, and we were. So you know, my time at the Warriors was probably the best. I still say it was the best time in my career. I had the best fun.
Yeah, awesome.
Jay asked, "What was Stacey Jones like as a leader?"
Stacey was not much of a talker, but when he spoke, you listened.
Yeah,
he was more of an actions man and expectations. Really, he didn't need to speak when he was one of those guys. And probably the proof is in the pudding. When he was in the team, we'd win more than we'd lose. When he was in the team, and we weren't a one-team town or anything like that, one-person town. But when he was in your team, you felt confident, and especially the young Kiwi boys, they were like, yes, Stacey Jones is in the team. We're a chance. We're a chance. So he's the best player I've ever played with, Stacey.
Oh, really? Awesome.
Yeah.
And Pat Paul asked, "Did you have an idol growing up?"
Did I have an idol? Yeah, I had a few. Like front row was more like Steve Blocker-Roach, those type of guys. Glenn Lazarus was another one. I watched those guys. My whole family supported Dragons when I was a younger kid. So
you can't help bad luck.
Yeah, I know. I just like footy as a general rule. And then those kind of guys come to mind when I think about who I looked up to as a front row. I was always a bigger kid, so I always wanted to play in the front row.
This isn't a question, but Nicholas McKercher says, "Mark, you're a fantastic guest, open, friendly, and well spoken. I've thoroughly enjoyed this interview." Yeah, as have we. As have we. Tooks, all Warriors fans remember you so fondly, and we certainly hope you look back on your days at the Warriors with fondness and pride in what you're able to achieve. And I personally just want to say I've been really looking forward to having a chat with you tonight, and I appreciate that you've given up, an hour of your time to chat to two gibberers who, just love talking all things Warriors.
Mate, I can talk all things Warriors, all things footy, and all things sport every day of my life, mate. So I just love it. And people always ask, do I get sick of talking about footy? And it's been my life whole
How could you get sick of it?
I love it. I love talking about it. I love talking about the new game and how the rules are going and everything like that. So I really enjoy the time. And I was just saying to the missus actually that all these blogs and all these Zoom meetings and all that, it's all this new thing that we can engage with the players. You can engage with ex-players, and it's a really good concept. And again, you're keeping that dream alive for some young kids out there to become young Warriors in the future. So mate, I like to do anything that I can to help out anyone that needs help in sport and stuff like that. So I'm actually at the moment I'm just working with young disabled athletes and things like that, trying to help them achieve their dream. And I caddy for a couple of blind golfers. And
I was going to say, I watched an interview that you did or a thing that you did on YouTube the other day, and there was a blind golfer, and you kind of just line him up. But this guy was hitting the ball perfectly. Like I've got two guys and I can't hit a ball that good.
Yeah, the guy that was in that footage was his name's Glenn, and he's the #1 golfer in Australia for totally blind, so in the B1 category. And outstanding. It's inspirational. I caddy for about 4 or 5 of them now, but he's the #1. And I was exactly like you. I'm a bit of a golfer, and I said, how the hell does he play golf blind? So
Yeah.
I played with him, and then eventually we hit it off, and we went on, and he's won a lot of titles and things like that. So yeah, now I'm a part of Blind Golf Queensland, and we do tours all over Australia, and they do So I'm hoping to actually do some golf tours across to New Zealand eventually, and whenever all this pandemic settles down a bit.
Yep. Before we let you go, Rob, what are you wearing tonight, mate? Can you show Tooks what you got on?
Well, mate,
I noticed that jersey, and I know exactly what one that one is.
yeah. And there's a bit of a scribble down here. So I don't know if you can make that out, but I was just gonna echo Hammer's thoughts as well, and really express our appreciation for you coming on. And it's been great to sort of meet you at all the Gold Coast functions that we've had for the Warriors.
Yeah.
And I was lucky enough to get you to sign the grand final jersey. So always wear this with pride. And mate, you're a fantastic player for the club, and you'll be long remembered. You're a true cult hero, and no Warriors fan will ever forget Warrior number 76. Mark Tookey. So yeah, I just really want to express sort of appreciation for giving us your time and coming on and talking all things Warriors and footy.
I absolutely appreciate it. And then again, if I can do anything to help you guys out, just let me know, mate. I can, anything you need or want anytime.
Mate, we'd love to get you back on next year once the footy season starts again, and get your thoughts after the Warriors or play a couple of games and the footy's a couple of games into the season.
Not a problem. That'd be great.
Awesome.
Let's see if they can get in those semi-finals this time.
Yeah, it'd be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah, they're building. If they can carry on from where they left off, they'll be all right.
Yeah, and we bought well too. We've got a couple of good signings coming in Murdoch Masella and Fanua Blake.
Yes. Adam Fanua Blake, he's a good player.
Yeah.
One of the better front rowers in the comp this year, Adam Fanua.
Yeah, and we've locked him in for like 3 years or so. So, it should be good for us.
Yep. Awesome.
Yeah. Well, yeah, again, we really appreciate time, and we'll have to get you on again sometime next year. But yeah, thanks again for your time, and we'll stay in touch.
Too easy, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, Tooks. You're a champion, brother.
Yeah. Bye. Well, what a great chat. What an
awesome chat. He's I said to you last night off camera that all the interviews that I've seen him do in the research I've done this week, he speaks so well, and he's so open and honest. That was a joy, mate. That was an absolute joy.
It was awesome, and just to get so much insight, like there's so much in that I never knew. Like it's just to get like the behind the scenes perspective on that period. I mean, that's such a fascinating period for our club, because it was our initial success, and to see how he came in when we were probably at one of our lowest ever points in 2000, when we basically folded, to go to making the finals for the first time, making the grand final, and then that sort of rise, and then unfortunately there's the fall again, bit of a pattern that we've unfortunately got with the club, but that was unbelievable. Just the insight and the stories, and
he sells himself short too, because he was instrumental in those seasons that he played at the Warriors. He
was. Yeah.
He says that he didn't start a lot of games, but he started a lot of games for us. In the 65 games that he played for the Warriors, he was instrumental in that 2001, 2002, 2003 seasons where we had a fair bit of success going into semi-finals.
Yeah, he definitely was. He had impact, and he touched on it briefly when he's talking about that try where he stepped John Buttigieg. But he did, for a big man. He had good footwork.
Yeah, he did.
He did, yeah. And I remember making a few clean breaks. And yeah, he was just a true cult hero, wasn't he? Like wherever he played, still is. People always remember him.
Yeah,
a lot of players have come and gone, but no one will forget Mark Tookey, that's for sure.
No, he hasn't played for our club for 16, 17 years, and people still remember him. And he, for him to come on, our little broadcast and stay here for an hour and talk about all things footy with us has been, it's been a highlight for me.
Oh, it's been amazing. Yeah, it's been absolutely amazing. So thanks again, Tooks.
Yeah, thanks, Tooks. Yeah. And thank you to everyone that's tuned in tonight to listen to the big man speak and ask some questions and what have you. But we haven't finished yet. We've still got a few things to talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we can talk about the grand final.
Yeah, well, it was a bit of a game on last Sunday, wasn't there?
Yeah, apparently so.
Yeah, just for me personally, Melbourne were clearly the better side. They started off strong, despite what Gus Gould might try and tell you. I can hear everyone just going, "Oh, geez."
Well, the scoreboard just wasn't being friendly. That's all it was.
That's all it was. They were, 16-0. It's just the scoreboard friendly. Yeah, look, Melbourne were, like, as I was saying to you last night, like, Melbourne were applying the pressure to them, and Penrith were getting frustrated because Melbourne were holding them out in defence. Like, their last-ditch defence was outstanding, and Penrith were moving the ball from side to side, and they were looking likely on either side, but they just couldn't get the ball over the line, and they were getting a bit frustrated. And I think that's where that Cleary pass came from. It was intercepted by Vunivalu. Going back to the first try, you can debate it if you like, but the rules are that if you try and stop a try with your foot, it is a penalty try. So,
yeah,
as far as I'm concerned,
the Billy Slater rule.
The Billy Slater rule, exactly. Yeah.
I think Penrith were playing too sideways footy. Like, who am I? I'm not an NRL coach, but I've always believed that you got to do the hard yards up the middle of the field to earn the right to go side to side. And Penrith relied too heavily on their edge, which I think they've done all year, and it's worked for them. But Melbourne knew what was coming, and Melbourne are a different beast in semi-final football.
Yeah.
And that game was well and truly over by half time, and then Ryan Pappenhausen's try in the second half just sealed the win. And Penrith made the last 20 minutes exciting, but if all these Penrith people on social media saying how the ref ripped them off and blah blah blah, well, the ref gifted them a try that wasn't a try for their first try to Brian Totwell. So they should just take it as it was. They were beaten by a better team on the day, and Melbourne
far better team. Yeah. Melbourne were the best team for 60 minutes. It was that last 20 minutes that made it a bit interesting. The scoreboard was quite deceptive. I think Melbourne were easily 20 points better than Penrith.
Yeah, absolutely. That's enough of that grand final stuff. Just a couple of awards that we got to discuss. First of all, congratulations to our good friend of the show, Georgia Hale, our Warriors NRLW captain, on winning the Veronica White medal, which is basically the female version of the Ken Stevens medal, awarded for community work, and no one more deserving than Georgia. She does so much community work in schools and with the disabled community in New Zealand, and with her role as a community person with the New Zealand Warriors. So congratulations to her, massive shout out. RTS nominated for the Ken Stevens medal, but that was won by Connor Watson. So congratulations to him. I guess Roger can't win everything. And just on the Warriors are having their end of season review and their Simon Mannering medal presentation on Wednesday.
Yep.
It's going to be aired on Sky Sport 4 in New Zealand at 8 p.m. their time, New Zealand Standard Time. And then that telecast will lead into State of Origin 1. Unfortunately for us Warriors fans in Australia, there is no broadcast at this time. However, the club is working on finding a solution to share the broadcast with Aussie-based fans and members. So anyone in New Zealand who's still watching this broadcast now, or if they pick it up tomorrow, just remember that that's on next Wednesday night prior to Origin. And apparently it's got a lot of behind-the-scenes footage of and interviews of the boys in their COVID lockdown bubble with Terrigal this year and so forth. And then we'll lead into the Simon Mannering medal presentation, which is probably a race of two people, Torhu and Roger, I guess, would be the people that we are in the running for that. So, yeah, but on that broadcast, once we have more info, we'll share that on our page. And then the final congratulations to Karina Brown, Brianna Clark, Tasman Gray, and Shania Power, who are all selected in the Queensland State of Origin squad for the Women's State of Origin, which will be held at Sunshine Coast Stadium on Friday the 13th of November. Friday 13th of November. Kickoff of that game is about 6:30. A very, very optimistic Hammer has purchased his tickets for that game in anticipation that the borders may be open, and I'll get up there and take my good mate Roo over there to the game. And if they don't allow the borders to open, well, then Roo's got 4 tickets to go to the game and share with people he may know up in Queensland that will go and support the girls. I will be easy to pick out in that crowd because I will be donning the Warriors jersey, cheering for our 4 Warriors girls. I've turned to the dark side. I am a New South Welshman, a proud New South Welshman, but I will be supporting Queensland in that game.
Slowly converting you to the light.
Yeah, I'll start. Mate, you'll never convert me from the men's New South Wales team, but at this point in time, I am a Queensland supporter in the women's for that very reason. And just one more shout out, to Hilda Peters, Madison Bartlett, Crystal Tamarua and Canyon Paul, who are still all in isolation in New Zealand at the moment, but once they come out of isolation next Tuesday, straight into the Kiwi Ferns camp for the test match next Friday against Fetu Samoa. So congratulations to all our Warriors representatives being picked in their various representative teams for upcoming State of Origin and international matches.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, good luck, girls, in all of those matches.
Did you guys see the Kiwi Ferns squad name for the Samoa game? I did, Christian. I did see that. I shared that on our page. And congratulations, Christian, on your hitting 1,000 followers on Instagram. That's
well done, mate. That's all.
Massive achievement. Send some of them our way, mate. We're still trying to crack 100. We're getting all the big interviews, but we just need people to start following us more on social media. Origin squad's named today.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
I'll just run through them. Have you got them in front of you?
Oh, no, I don't have it in front of me, but
I do. I've got them right here, mate. So the New South Wales squad: Tedesco, Tupu, Clint Gutherson makes his debut in the centres. Jack Whiten, Addo Carr, Luke Keary at 5'8", making his debut. Nathan Cleary, Daniel Saifiti, Damien Cook, Junior Paulo makes his debut in the front row. Boyd Cordner, Tyson Frizzell, Jake Travojevic. And the bench is Cody Walker, Payne Haas, Cameron Murray, and Angus Crichton. And the Queensland side is full of debutants. We have AJ Brimson at fullback making his debut. Xavier Coates from the Broncos making his debut on the wing. Fresh from his grand final victory, Brenko Lee in the centres, making his debut with Dane Gagai. Philip Sammy on the wing, making his debut. Cam Munster, DCE in the halves. Christian Welch and Big Puppy Josh Papali in the front row. Jake Friend makes his debut at hooker. Felice Kafusi, Cohen Hess, and Big Tino rounding out the run-on side makes his debut at lock. And then we've got Ben Hunt, Lindsay Collins making his debut off the bench, Jai Arrow and Jaden Sewer making his debut as well. Thoughts?
Yeah, from a Queensland point of view, I mean, 8 debutants. We were talking about this last night. It sort of winds the clock back to 1995, doesn't it? Fatties, nobodies.
It does, and that's scary.
Yeah, well, yeah, you never never write off the Queenslanders, mate. We're always there. I think from the Queensland forward pack looks decent. Some good informed players there, like with Papali, Christian Welch off the grand final. Some of the young guys in there will add a bit of impact. Big Tino and Jaden Sewer and those guys might go all right. I was a little surprised to see Roosters hooker, whose name?
Jake Friend.
Jake Friend, sorry. Jake Friend get in there over Harry Grant. There was a lot of talk around that Grant might get in there. But I am excited to see, because I think he's overdue to make his Origin debut, Jake Friend, and I'm looking forward to see what he brings. But overall, the backs, I think we're looking a little bit thin in the outside backs. Brimson's exciting. And Philip Sammy had a really good season for the Titans as well, but I'm a bit concerned about, say, Brenko Lee in the centres defensively, and also Gagai hasn't played centre. Does he play central wing for the Rabbitohs? It just escapes me at the moment, but yeah, I think defensively we're looking a bit struggling a bit in the centres.
Yeah. In saying that though, those young guys could just the occasion, I mean, in this day and age, the occasion might be, very nonchalant, go out there, just play their game of footy and, have blinders. I'm just reading a couple of comments here. Jay Harris, love Jay Harris. He says, Freddie and his boys will get the job done. Sorry, Roo, up the Blues.
We'll see.
Nicholas McKercher wants us to go back a step. He said, sorry to bring the grand final up again, but what are both of your opinions on the Penrith obstruction try? Can you please explain it to me, guys? Okay, so basically, Isaiah Yeo had the ball. He was drifting across field. He ran behind, I think it was James Fisher-Harris.
Mm.
And once he's run behind James Fisher-Harris, it becomes an obstruction.
Yeah.
And he chose, after he ran behind him, to kick the ball in, and that's where Brian Tortor had come up, because basically what had happened was Justin Olam had come out of the line and kind of shut down the outside men. And then, so basically Isaiah Yeo should have succumbed in a tackle.
Yeah, he had to surrender.
Because he'd run behind his player, if he had to kick the ball before he ran behind James Fisher-Harris, a completely different story. But the fact that he actually ran behind him and then kicked the ball, it becomes an obstruction. And it's amazing that the bunker didn't know the rule.
That's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just, how could they get that wrong in a grand final?
I know.
Yeah, good question, Nick. Cheers, mate.
Yeah. Warriors news, not much to say. The club's been farewelling all their players. AK finally farewelled. We were hanging on to hope,
weren't we?
Yeah, we were. And then I posted up a video just on our Roo Hammer page of just thanking all the guys that are moving on after this season. Unfortunately, unlike what's posted on a lot of the Warriors social pages, we can't keep them all.
Yeah.
We've got to let some of these guys go for the club to be able to grow and bring through players. We've let 9 go. We've bought 4, which basically means that we've got a couple of spots still open on our roster.
Development players will get promoted as well. So guys like Paul Turner, Tom Ale, these guys are going to be promoted to the top 30. So there's not as many spots. Yeah, there's not as many spots as people are thinking. It's like, I know, we'll just get rid of all these players. It's got to be like about 10 spots. It's like,
that's right.
Yeah.
And we've got the train and trial deal for Jaden Nikorima. Plus, not only that, you don't want to go into the off season with a 30-man roster full of 30 contracted players, and then because anything could happen early in the season where you can pick up another player that's disgruntled or not happy or comes on the open market. We've got plenty of money still in our salary cap.
Yeah.
So, I think the club's done the right thing with most of the guys that they've let go. Paddy Herbert would have been nice to keep. But in saying that, Pompey and Perham have done a wonderful job this year playing first grade and have developed quite well and are futures of the club.
Fuss and Ken. Everyone's forgetting about
Fuss and Ken. Yeah, that's right. We've got that young kid that they've signed, whose name?
Junior Ratuva.
Junior Ratuva, who's an outside back as well. Paul Turner, obviously, still in the mix. Rocco Berry, who's got massive raps on him. And then there's a couple, Setu 2 and guys like that are still running around in.
Yeah, there's a few guys on the flippers that they got a bit of a run in the trial games, I think. Like Adam Tuamavavi Gerard as well. There's a few guys around there. So, like, anyone who's just going to whinge saying, how can we release all these players? They're all going to come back to haunt us. Yeah, like all those other players that came back to haunt us, Like, everyone wants a new team, but they don't want us to release any players. So I don't know how that works.
Well, if we're looking for players with proven success, well, Solomon Akata lifted a trophy this year, so maybe we can get him back. Conrad Harrell lifted a trophy in the English Super League, so maybe we can get him back. And I did notice Albert Bete running around with the Melbourne on the field on the weekend, so maybe we can get him back.
And mate, Ivan Cleary got them to a grand final. So, hang on.
Yeah, maybe we can get him back. I know. Yeah, so quite weird. Mate, I've got to ask you, why is Roger Tuivasa-Sheck looking over your shoulder?
Mate, we've always got RTS watching, you know. He's just there in the background. He's just unassuming. No, this was like one of those giant heads that they had in giving away at the Magic Round game last year at Suncorp Stadium against the Dragons. So my good friend Maria Stevens got one of those at the game, and she was flying back to New Zealand, so she wasn't able to take that. She'd have to buy another seat for Rog, if you know what I mean. So she was kind enough to donate that to me. She left it at the foyer in a hotel in Brisbane. So I went in there one morning before work, and I was walking through the Brisbane CBD carrying a giant RTS cutout. So
crazy.
Yeah, but thanks, Maria. Cheers for that.
Another quick question from Jay Harris. Boys, if we do get Cody's brother, what does that mean for Chanel? Because I remember when the Twins played NYC for Brisbane in the halves, they carved up, but when both were in first grade, they didn't get to gel due to other senior players having the key halves back then. Yeah, I can remember that Jaden was the better player of the two.
Yeah.
And he's more of the natural half. I think he was the halfback, and I thought Cody was playing hooker back then. I think the game you're talking about, Jay, was that 2014 under-20s grand final.
Yeah, against the Warriors.
When the Warriors won, but I think, I remember I was out there. It was a 32-degree day. I think we got out to a 32-0 lead and ended up winning 32-30 or something. Carter scored 3 tries, but I think Jaden Nikorima scored 4 or something in that grand final.
Yeah.
I think, honestly, and this is just my opinion, I think CHT has done enough to hold his position. I think he's developed quite well. His maturity showing through. If anything, if Jaden can find the form that he had when he was at the Broncos, and he had a little bit of form when he was at the Roosters as well. Yeah. He may get the gig alongside CHT, which would mean Cody goes to the 9 or 14, and probably more likely the 9, which would push Lawton back to the bench and Egan out of the side, or Egan stays on the bench and Lawton fills somewhere else. I don't know. Early days yet, but I think.
If Steve Kearney was still the coach, he could have all 3 hookers on the bench.
Yeah, exactly right. But in saying that, though, I think it's a great signing for us for depth because we really don't have much depth in the halves.
Yeah, that's it.
I think this year,
half, is he? He's probably
Paul Turner's a fullback.
Yeah,
Paul Turner's a fullback. And even in the game that he did play, he didn't play in the halves. They played him out in the centres or something.
Yeah.
I think you find this year when we lacked in the halves, I think didn't they move Tohu to 5'8" or
they
had a Hiku 5'8" once or something like that. So I think Jaden will be a great acquisition.
Yeah, it'd be awesome depth. And yeah, like you said, if he can recapture some of that under-20s form, then, that would be awesome backup.
Nicholas has asked us, thank you very much, guys. That's for the answer to his obstruction question. Speaking of which, I've noticed that the opinion of the bunker in relation to the number of tries this season has greatly differed from that of the commentary teams. Is the bunker up to it, guys? I don't know.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, you would think that the guys in the adjudicating on the game would have the rule book in front of them so they can make the right decisions. But
I'd like to think so.
I've seen them miss some blatant things. Like there was a one where they missed. Did they? Oh no, they didn't send it upstairs when the guy's foot went out.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that was ridiculous.
Yeah. Sorry, guys, I got COVID. Yeah, so Nick, I've never been a massive fan of the bunker. We're talking last night, or it can go back to those great State of Origin games. I remember that try that Mark Sparkles Hammer McGaw scored in Origin. That would have been looked at for 3.5 hours in this day and age with the bunker, and still no adjudication. So, and back then they just awarded that a try.
Yeah, point to the spot, get on with it. Yeah.
I think the problem with the refs on the field these days is they're too worried to make a mistake.
I don't want to come on a result. Yeah.
Yeah, and because of the backlash they cop in the media and on social media about it, but at the same time, the bunker still keeps getting things wrong when they're looking at multiple TV screens that we all can see. So, yeah. I don't know.
Who knows?
I don't know. Anyway, we've still got our prize pack.
Yep.
So I'm sorry I haven't boosted that.
There we go. Got it right here.
There we go. So that was originally going to be drawn next Thursday during our show where we were planning to do our end of season review for both the men's and the women's. However, we're pushing that back a week because that's an awesome shirt.
Yes.
Because we've locked in a massive coup for next week. We've locked in Jazz Tavunga, who's going to come on the show live next week and chat to us. So the season review and the drawing of the prize pack will be the following week, which means people can still get out there, share the pages.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. Share the pages, share the social media pages. So what is it? You've got to like, share, comment on our Instagram and Facebook pages.
Yep.
Tag somebody. So that we can grow our media presence, our social media presence, and one lucky person will get that prize pack. But next week, massive coup. We got Jazz Tavunga coming on the show.
Yeah, awesome.
We may be earlier. We'll keep you all posted via our socials as to the timing, because Jazz is back in New Zealand and 2 hours behind. We've just told him whatever suits him, we'll work towards. So we could be on, an hour or two earlier next week, but I'll keep you all updated.
And just on the prize pack, massive thanks to TK again for donating that awesome prize pack. TK,
absolutely. I hope you're not working too hard tonight, TK. Watching from work. But yeah, absolutely. We appreciate all the support we get from here in Australia and over in New Zealand. It's wonderful. We've got quite a few of the players now following us on the Instagram page. We've got the entire 24-person squad of the women's team following us, plus Coach Brad Donald. And yeah, basically our whole objective is just to keep bringing you guys good content to watch. Live interviews with players and ex-players. Give you a bit of an insight. Once we post up who we're having on, guys, comment on our social pages and any questions you want us to ask these guests.
Yeah, keep the conversation going. It's awesome to have all your input. It makes it a real interactive experience for everyone. That's kind of another one of our goals as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So just thank you everyone that tuned in tonight. Thank you once again to Mark Tookey. What a fantastic interview that was. That was a lot of fun.
That was brilliant. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Next week, looking forward to having a chat to Jazz. Get your Jazz Tavunga related questions in. I think next week's show will also be joined by Josh Gage. Josh has a good relationship with Jazz. He's just moved out to the country, so we're going to get Josh on to have a chat with us next week as well. But aside from that, that's it for me. What do you got planned for the weekend, mate? What are you up to?
Oh, mate, probably not too much. There's more. I think there's more storms forecast this weekend. We had a bunch of storms last week. That's not a reference to the grand final, by the way. There's a few storms brewing, I think, on Saturday. But yeah, probably just time with the family and all that sort of thing. But yeah, no, really looking forward to next week, and I'll be working on some Jazz.
Yeah, I'm going to drive up the Central Coast this weekend, visit my parents. I haven't seen them since Father's Day. So now that all my footy commitments, so to speak, have finished, I'll get up there for the weekend, spend some time with the oldies. And then get ready to talk to Jazz next week. I'm excited about that. you know, like I said, we've been very fortunate. We've had, you know, Georgia Hales come on. We've had Karina Brown, Kira Dibb, Maddie Bartlett, Hilda Peters, Michaela Peck, Brianna Clark, Brad Donald, now Mark Tookey, and next week we roll into Jazz Tavunga. So, you know, we're getting some people out there. Owen Guttonville, please. All right, I'll put the feelers out for big Owen Guttonville.
See what we can do. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Comment on our page. Let us know who you want us to try and snafu, and we'll see if we can get them on the show for you. But that's it for us this week, mate. It's been a long one, but a good one.
Been awesome.
Always good chatting to you, my friend.
Right back at you, mate.
All right, mate. You have a good weekend. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.
Take it easy, everyone. See you guys.